Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Fan Art Friday. In this video I'm drawing Alphonse Elric from Fullmetal Alchemist. I've recently been watching Brotherhood on Netflix, and I think it's absolutely awesome. It's something that you should definitely check out if you haven't already. And a couple of weeks ago I worked on a drawing of Edward, so I wanted to make sure I worked on a drawing of his brother. Thanks again for all of your drawing suggestions, and if you have any more suggestions for future drawing videos, then please let me know in the comments below. I read through your suggestions every week, and I try to work on as many as possible. For the initial outlines of this drawing, I started off by using a sepia coloured Copic Marker pen, that's 0.05mm, and this is extremely fine, but it helps with it gives you the extra control over the pen when you want to add the dynamic line work, maybe adding the thicker lines to where the shaded areas of the drawing would be, and adding finer lines to the highlighted areas. And my idea for this drawing was to have a side portrait of Alphonse, kind of in a comic panel kind of idea, with having some parts overlapping the comic panel and kind of bringing the character forward. I wanted to keep it nice and simple with the shading, and then I wanted to have a nice bright background to help make Alphonse stand out from the page even further. So when it came to the colouring, I used Copic Markers, and I started off by using the cool grey markers ranging between 3, 5 and 7. I used the 7 for the really dark shading towards the centre of the character, and then I faded that outwards by using the 5 and the 3. I actually used a little bit of cool grey 1 where I wanted to blend the 3 into the white highlights, but I didn't use too much of that as I didn't want to smooth the highlighting too much and kind of take away the effect that the highlights have. I used this colouring method throughout the drawing of Alphonse. I wanted to start off the shading at its darkest points with the cool grey 7, and then blend outwards with the next stage with the cool grey 5, and then blend outwards again with the cool grey 3, and just going through this process throughout the whole image, all of the metal parts of the armour, and making sure to leave some nice bright highlights around the outsides of the character, kind of almost like a spotlight effect, having the highlighted areas around the outside of the character and having the darkest shading towards the middle. For the inside areas of the helmet, around the eye and the neck, I used a black Copic marker. And to smooth the transition between the black and the metal armour, I used a cool grey 7, and this really helps to just keep that transition between the shades nice and smooth. Once I'd finished adding the colouring to the armour and kind of smoothed the transitions between all the layers, I then started to add some colour, and I wanted to add the red symbol to Alphonse's arm on the armour. And I used a cardinal red for this one. It was a kind of a darker red that was needed, and the cardinal suited that perfectly. I already had the outlines kind of basically added with the sepia coloured pen, so they were just faintly there, and that made that part of the drawing really easy. And then I also used this same red for the kind of outer edges of Alphonse's eye. I also used a crimson marker around that area of the eye as well, just to help that stand out even further. Having the white highlight at the centre really helps with that as well. With those parts of the colouring completed, I then started adding some black outlines with a black Copic multiliner pen. I think this one is 0.3mm, so it gives a thicker line, which I wanted especially around the undersides of some part of the armour, in the shaded areas, and then making sure to add the finer lines around the highlighted top of the helmet. And keeping dynamic lines alongside the already placed down shading with the Copic markers, it really helps to add some more depth to the drawing, especially around the centre where I added the black Copic marker. At this point I also decided to add a black comic panel around the outside of the drawing. I made sure to leave that chest piece of Alphonse kind of really standing out and poking out of the comic panel. I think this really helps to make the character stand out as a whole. I also left the spike on the top of his head poking out of the panel as well, and I really like the effects this gives. It's something that I've really enjoyed using in a few of my drawings beforehand. And it's something I recommend trying out. It's really fun, and the effects that a comic panel can give is quite surprising sometimes. For this drawing I decided to add a background colour within the panel, and for that I used a crimson Copic marker. This is a really nice bright red, and it really helps to make Alphonse's eye and the symbol on his arm stand out even more. And then as a final touch, I wanted to make sure I used the Uni-ball highlighter pen. This is a pen that I absolutely love using for Copic Marker drawings, and having highlighted areas in a drawing like this where you have some really dark shading towards the center can really help to push out some of the areas of the drawing. So I started by adding some white outlines around some parts of the armor and around some of the highlighted areas just to help push them out even further. And then I made sure to add a white highlight going around Alphonse's character, all the way around and overlapping the parts of the comic panel as well. And this really helps to push the character above the red background and the comic panel. And this is a nice final way of making sure the character stands out in front of everything else in the drawing. I was really pleased with this drawing in the end, and I loved the way the crimson colour of the background made the character stand out. Please let me know what you think of this drawing in the comments below, and if you have any more suggestions for future videos then please let me know. If you enjoy videos like this then make sure you're subscribed, and any likes or shares on this video are hugely appreciated and it really means a lot to me. And if you want to follow me on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram and follow along with the progress photos throughout the week, then be sure to check out the links in the description box below. And once again, thank you so much for the support on this channel. It really means a lot to me, and I'm always looking forward to working on these videos. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you all soon.